Hello, it's Mrs. Coke again. Let's try this again. And I'm just going to pick up notes, equations with decimals. So these are the notes from Wednesday, November 29th. Equations with decimals. You've got two options when you're working with decimals. Very similar to yesterday's two options for fractions. You can get rid of the decimals, but this time, decimals don't have a denominator, so you're not going to multiply by a least common denominator. You are going to multiply by a power of 10. We'll talk about how you choose the power of 10 as we go through the examples. If you don't want to do that, you're totally welcome to solve the problem however you normally would, whether it's variables on both sides, or you need to distribute, or a regular two-step or one-step equation, but you're going to have to do those decimal operations. By operations, I mean add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay. Here's using option number 1, multiply by a power of 10. For this problem, 3.5x plus 10 equals 1.75x plus 50. I have chosen to multiply by the second power of 10, which is 100. 10 times 10 is 100. And I chose that because of this number right here, 1.75. It's got two decimal places, so I'm going to multiply it by 10 to the power of 2. Here's every single thing being multiplied by 10, even my 10 and 50, which weren't decimals. When I multiply by 100, because there's two zeros, I move two decimal places to the right. Two decimal places to the right. Even for my numbers that didn't have a decimal written, move two to the right. And I'll get this, 350x plus 1,000 equals 175x plus 5,000. I'm going to start now. Usually what I've done in the past when it's variables on both sides, notice there's variables on both sides. I started with the variables, but since these numbers are so easy, I'm just going to get them out of the way and subtract both sides by 1,000. 5,000 minus 1,000 is 4,000. Positive 1,000 and negative 1,000 cancel out. Bring down 350x, bring down 175x. Now I've got variables on both sides. I've got to combine them by canceling 175x with negative 175x. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you've got to do it to the other side to keep the equation balanced. Now I've got 350 minus 175. If you want to pause and do the work, see if you can get the next step. 175x and negative 175x cancel out. 350 minus 175 is 175. Bring down 4,000. Now I'm at the stage, it's a one-step equation. My operation is multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division. Divide by 175. Now on the next screen, I did a lot of complicated work. Well, it's not that complicated. I just showed you every single step to divide 4,000 by 175, but I'm going to let you know for your homework, when you get to this final division step, you're welcome to use a calculator. If you don't have a calculator, never fear, you can still figure it out. I gave some multiples of 175, 350, 525, 700. And I actually made a mistake on this slide. So I'm going to do the 2 second multiple to get 350. I'll get a remainder of 50, bring down the 0. Now it's still going to be a 2, because 500, 525, the third multiple is too big. So another 2, 350, subtract. I get 150 as my remainder. Now, I did not do a multiple big enough to get to 150, so I'm going to do some extra multiples. Here's where my mistake was. 175 times 8 is actually 1,400 or 1,400, not 1,500. There's my mistake. So I said that 8 was 1,500 and that you're done there, but actually you're not. So the answer is not 22.8, it's 22.8, and then you keep going and going and going. Let's pretend I didn't do that. Now, if you want to use decimal operations, still subtract. 10 minus 50 is 40. 10 minus 10 cancels out. Now here's where I use decimal operations. I'm subtracting 3.5 by 1.75. And remember, when you subtract decimals, I drew a line because I got to line up the decimals. And if there's a space, got to add a 0. 0 minus 5, got to borrow, and I'll get 175 or 1.75. I'm going to divide 40 by 1.75. Welcome to Use a Calculator. I did some division work, and again, I did make a mistake that I didn't catch. Well, actually, I did catch it this time. It's 1,400. Okay, but I didn't finish it. Here's our example 3, and you'll notice, hopefully, our answer is 4. This problem requires distribution. 3.5 times x and 3.5 times 2. 3.5 times 2 is 7. So 3.5x plus 7. 3 people asked me when we were going over the notes, where'd the 7 come from? Well, I distributed 3.5 times 2, and I get 7. I'm going to subtract my 7, and I'll get 14. Now I divide by 3.5. Here's a decimal operation. You're dividing 14 by the decimal 3.5. Now I'm doing option 2 in blackface. That's where it's black background and white. Multiply by 10, multiply by 10. 10 times 3.5 is 35. 10 times 21 is 210. Now I've still got to distribute 35 times x and 35 times 2. Subtract 70 from both sides and divide by 35. Whoops, let me go back. Divide by 35, I'll get an answer of 4. I've got one last example. I don't think we got to this in class. 2.5x plus 10.2x minus 7.6 equals 17.8. How would I get here? Well, I added my like terms, 2.5x and 10.2x. 2.5 and 10.2 is 12.7. Now I'm going to add 7.6 to both sides. Whoops. Okay, I didn't finish this problem. See if you can finish the problem, and maybe we'll go over it tomorrow.